really went into it and broke it down. So we're going to get on some brief descriptions right here. Go ahead.
2 Corinthians 12:2. I knew a man in Yahushua about 14 years ago, whether in the body, I cannot tell, or whether out of the body, I cannot tell. Yahweh knew it. Such a one caught up to the third heaven.
To the third heaven. Okay, so why is it speaking of the third heaven right here? How many heavens is it? Okay, let's see. And once we go through the scriptures, we're going to see that it's 3 levels of heaven that is spoken of in the Bible. First place we're going to go is Deuteronomy 11 and 17. This is going to be the first heaven, which is speaking of the earth, the atmosphere, and the clouds.
Deuteronomy 11 and 17. And then the Lord's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven.
He shut up the what?
The heaven, that there be no rain, and that the land yield not their fruit.
Okay, where does the rain come from? The clouds, right? Let's jump to Judges 5 and 4. Remember, we're focusing on this cloud right here.
Judges chapter 5 and 4. Lord, when thou wentest out of Seir, when thou marchest out of the field of Edom, the earth trembled, and the heavens dropped the clouds, also dropped water.
The heavens dropped the clouds, also dropped water. So that's speaking of the first heaven right there. Speaking of the clouds, it's speaking of rain. So now we're going to give you an example of the second heaven, which consists of the suns, the stars, the moon, and the outer space, what you could say. Let's go to Jeremiah 8 and 2. It's going to be speaking of the second heaven.
Jeremiah chapter 8 verse 2. And they shall spread them before the sun and the moon and all the host of heaven, whom they have loved, and whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought, and whom they have worshipped. They shall not be gathered nor buried. They shall be for dung upon the face of the earth.
Okay, let's jump to Isaiah 13 and 10. Once again, it's speaking of the second heaven.
Isaiah chapter 13 and 10. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine.
Okay, these are the elements of the second heaven. One more. Let's go to Psalms 19 and read 1 through 6.
Psalms 19, chapter 1 through 6. Verse 1 through 6. The heavens declare the glory of the Most High.
The what?
The heavens declare the glory of the Most High, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their word to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoices as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof.
The end of what? The end of heaven. Meaning he can go only in the second heaven. He can't reach the third heaven. So now let's show this third heaven that we're speaking of. 1 Kings 8, 27 through 30.
First Kings chapter 8, 27 through 30. But will Yahweh indeed dwell on earth? Behold, the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain thee.
1, 2, 3. Go ahead.
How much less this house that I have built? Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servants, and to his supplications, O Lord, my God, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which thy servant prayed before thee today, that thine eyes may be open toward this house night and day, even toward this the place of which thou hast said, my name shall be there, that thou makest hearken unto the prayer which thy servants shall make towards this place.
Okay, let's jump to Deuteronomy 10 and 14.
Deuteronomy chapter 10 and 14. Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heaven is the Lord thy God, the earth also with all that therein is.
Okay, so now we speaking of this cloud right now. We know that it was three different types of heaven. We got the first heaven, which speaks of the cloud, the rain, and the earth. The second heaven speaks of the stars, the moon, the sun, and the third heaven is the Most High's dwelling. So now let's get back on this cloud that was following us. So if the Most High is down in the form of a cloud, meaning he brought himself down to the first heaven to walk over us and watch over us. Let's jump to Numbers and get the 9th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 15.
And on the day that the tabernacle was reared up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, namely the tent of the testimony, and at evening there was upon the tabernacle, as it were, the appearance of fire until the morning. So it was always the cloud covered it by day, and the appearance of fire by night. And when the cloud was taken up from the tabernacle, then after the children of Israel journeyed, and in the place where the cloud abode, there the children of Israel pitched their tents. And at the commandment of the Lord, the children of Israel journeyed, and at the commandment of the Lord they pitched. As long as the cloud abode upon the tabernacle, they rested in their tent. And when the cloud tarried long upon the tabernacle many days, then the children of Israel kept the charge of the Lord.
The charge of who?
The charge of the Lord, and journeyed not. And so it was, when the cloud was a few days upon the tabernacle, according to the commandment of the Lord, they abode in their tent, and according to the commandment of the Lord they journeyed. And so it was when the cloud abode from even unto the morning, and that the cloud was taken up in the morning, then they journeyed. Whether it was by day or by night that the cloud was taken up, they journeyed. Or whether it was 2 days or a month or a year that the cloud tarried unto the tabernacle remaining thereon, the children of Israel abode in their tents and journeyed not. But when it was taken up, and they journeyed, and at the commandment of the Lord they rested in the tent, and at the commandment of the Lord they journeyed, and kept the charge of the Lord and the commandment of the Lord by the hand of Moses.
Okay, so now we on this wilderness, and we on our journey. We only moving when the cloud moves, and that's the presence of the Most High. So that's how we know how to make our way through this wilderness. So now that we know the history and we got this understanding, now let's go back and read Habakkuk 3 and 3. And then after we read 3 and 3, we're going to jump to 12 and read down to 13.
Habakkuk 3 and 3. Yahweh came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran. Salah, his glory covered the heavens and the earth.
Okay, so now when it says glory covered the heavens, now we got to understand it, because we know all the 3 different levels of heaven. His glory covered all 3 of the heavens, and he brought himself down to the first heaven, and he was in the form of a cloud. Right? So we got the understanding of that. Now let's jump to verse 12 and read down to 13.
Habakkuk chapter 3 verse 12 and 13. Thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger. Thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even for the salvation with thine anointed.
The salvation of thy people, even for the salvation with thine anointed. So we know he's walking, he's going somewhere with his people. Go ahead.
Thou woundest the head out of the houses of the wicked, by discovering the foundations unto their neck. Salah.
Okay, so now let's jump back. Let's get Exodus